Hello and welcome to Quality of Life Radio, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Quality of Life show. Today, we welcome back one of our Big Blend experts, Sarah-Elliston. Sarah is the author of Lessons from a Difficult Person, How to Deal with People Like Us. She wrote the book just for me. Didn't she, Nancy?
Now you could see all three of us.
I know. But Sarah is a faculty member of the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory, which is something we're going to talk about today, and is a workshop leader and trainer certified in values realization and parent effectiveness training. I think during COVID, a lot of parents probably wanted to call Sarah over that, but you could go to Sarah-Elliston.com to keep up with her, and also go to blendradioandtv.com. You'll see her latest article, and it's all about confusion after COVID because a lot of life decisions are being made as we go into some kind of normal. And what do we want to do first? How are we going to do it? Maybe careers have changed. A lot of things have changed. So you can read our article there, and you'll also see it in the upcoming issue of Quality of Life magazine, because now we have 9 magazines. How about that? Well, we're getting there. So welcome back, Sarah. How are you?
I'm fine. It's great to be back. Thanks for inviting me. Yes.
Hey, always good to chat with you. And I think we're all feeling, I know you went through some health struggles with pneumonia. You're looking great and getting back to normal. But we're also easing out of this hell of COVID. I know a lot of countries like India are still, really feeling the effects of it. So we're not done yet with this, but shift is happening. And so a lot of changes now, right? For all of us.
Well, I just got an email from a friend who said his church is having an in-person service for the first time this weekend, and he's still going to wear a mask. And I thought, okay, our church has been open for people to come for like 3 months now. And everybody wears masks and you can't hug anybody. So I watch it from home on Facebook because I can't imagine being there and not being able to hug and hold hands. So I'm looking forward to being able to hug.
Yeah, it's different. Nancy, you're saying that no matter what, like even for the next year, you're going to keep wearing a mask everywhere.
Yeah. Until I see that,
travel a lot.
Yeah, we're all over the place. And, I think the chances of it reoccurring are there because people that don't wear a mask and have not worn a mask may still get it.
Even if they're vaccinated?
I think if you're vaccinated, you're good.
To a point.
I think it'd be really rare for someone who's got, been vaccinated. But, until everybody is vaccinated, I don't know. Not in a big hurry to take that chance, I guess.
Yeah, but especially with us traveling, so it's.
Yeah, you're out and around a lot more.
Yeah.
I know my son lives in Brooklyn, New York, and he has been unable to visit his best friend who has a summer house in Rhode Island. And last year they had a whole trip planned, and then Rhode Island decided not, at that point in the summer to exclude people from New York. So he's really that, and he's been vaccinated twice as long as I have because he works with people. He's an educator in the zoo.
Yeah. And you can't get those primates and those tigers all, you can't.
Yeah, because they can't. Animals can get it.
Yeah, well, he's at the Brooklyn Zoo. They don't have any tigers, I don't think. But yeah, it was because there was interaction, even though most of their for a long time most of their activities were virtual. But groups were coming in as early as March, I think. Small groups, as long as they were masked, and so limited in numbers. And so he was right in the beginning there of getting out vaccinations. So.
Yeah, a lot of places we traveled to, like botanical gardens, they just really had staged times. So not everybody could go at once. And, you really wear your mask if you're around people. But if you're 6 feet far away from someone, you can breathe a little bit because we need to breathe,
Yeah.
That's the thing with the mask. So we're not done, but I think it's interesting, even businesses having to kind of change. Restaurants are still going for mostly outdoors. But when we start making these decisions, I was thinking about you. I'm like, we got to do the latter. So it's choice theory. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what choice theory is. I know we've talked about this on even how to make decisions for a vacation, which this could come up now, right?
We
But what?
use the same concept. The latter actually is not something I learned from choice theory, but it works pretty well because choice theory says we all have 5 genetic instructions, 5 basic needs that are in our brains, as if the same as we have genetic instructions for hair color and eye color and the size of our body and all those different genes. These are just the need to belong and feel part of something, feel loved, the need for fun, the need for freedom, a sense of making choices, a need to feel empowered, not power over others, but a self-empowerment, and then the need to survive, of course, food and physical activity. But when you're thinking about the latter, it's okay, what are all the things I want to do? And what's the priority? And what I keep finding, every time I do this kind of thing, I discover the people that I want to be with, the people that I want to. I mean, haven't hugged my granddaughter for over a year. I've seen her, we've talked, we've played, but I can't touch her. And so, like, she's number 1 on my ladder. That's the first thing it won't be the first thing I'll be able to do, but it's one of my top choices. So as you think about how to approach, say, the summer months and then the fall months, what are all the things that you could do? Which ones would meet which needs do you think are most important? You may have had just about enough of family right now. It may be that you need to take some solitary time.
Okay.
If I had 3 children that I was overseeing in their schoolwork, I'd be doing double backflips because the schools are all open here now in Cincinnati. So
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
getting some respite for that. But of course, a lot of people are going back to work. So it's a different kind of respite. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I think the latter I like because you're basic, but I think it's really important, like you were talking about, is what are those parts of us that what we should look at. I mean, the importance of love, feeling belonged, freedom. Nancy's favorite word. She wants to be footloose and fancy free.
That's right.
So you have all those things, and that's important. But especially for families, this is something you can do individually. But isn't it? You can do it as a family, or even as a business. You can do this.
I've done it with groups of businesses. I worked with volunteer groups for a long time, and when there's a volunteer team working on a project, if you break out the different elements of the project or the different goals of the project, if you will, and then lay it out in a ladder, and everybody writes, whatever, say, goal number 1 on a sheet, and then you put it where you think you put it on your ladder, and you can look over at what the person next to you is doing, and you're allowed to look because it's just your opinion. But if you do it in a group, people begin to talk about why it's important to them in the space and why, I'd have it at the top and someone else would have it a little bit lower. One of my friends who sees her grandchildren all the time, yes, her grandchildren are important to her, but it's not the number 1 thing on her ladder, for example. But teams have found it as a very useful tool. Something else I wanted to say based on what you were saying, and I've forgotten what it is now. So, the other piece of the genetic needs that I always talk about with choice theory, they drive our behavior in the sense that everything we do, we're trying to meet at least 1 or more of those needs. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and it sometimes it's real simple. You can say, oh yes, I want to see my granddaughter because I want to hug her and it feels good. And so it would meet a physical need, a survival need, it would meet the love and belonging need. But it would also, be my need for fun. It's one thing to play dolls on Zoom, and it's another one to sit and hold the doll and anyway. See the
Yeah,
difference?
yeah. Well,
So
Nancy would be saying she wants the fun at the top, and I'll be going, "Come on now, Nancy, we got to do this as the survival part." And so we'll have a tug of war of fun versus survival. Is that right, Nancy? No, no, no.
I don't think you can
She
survive
does the
without
books.
fun, so it's
no,
equal.
you really can't. I mean,
Yeah,
those
you have to
happy
have it.
people I know have really great senses of humor.
Yeah,
Yes.
you
But
have
I
to.
always have the feeling that you guys are fun. I enjoy these.
Well, we are. Just
we
ask us.
we have to have fun. I mean, even during the scary times or anything that I think we've maybe told you the story before, going through wildfires, and it was really, really, and then maybe we just had so many evacuations and we got to the one point and we'd bought a 6-pack of beer with a friend. He was helping us, and we all just stopped, grabbed a beer, and said, let's take time for a cool one. And we did beer commercials and we had the giggles. I know that's part hysteria, but we'd all kind of become numb to it, to the point of, it's going to burn, it's going to burn. You know what I mean? You have that panic, but it's almost like no matter how bad a situation is, I know there's adrenaline and hysteria, but there is something, you've got to laugh. I mean, we're not good at funerals. Nancy laughs inside churches when we go to a funeral. but that's not being like, oh, I'm going to make this fun. But you do, I think laughter, no matter if it's from hysteria or adrenaline, is a way of making you bridge out of something that's, could be life threatening, or it's like when you've got an evil boss and the evil boss walks into the room and we all gonna giggle.
The giggles.
If you're gonna do that I now see that, that's a no-no, right, Sarah?
I think the evil boss that I don't think we laughed at her, but I had been doing the work by Byron Katie, and very simply she said, life is simple if you look at it very simply. And it's not this evil boss, it's just a woman talking. So I used to make eye contact with a friend of mine who had also been studying the same concepts. And we'd look at each other and say, woman talking.
Bobblehead.
Not quite. We weren't making fun of her. We were trying to simplify it to take the edge off of it, because she was hard to get along with. Well, she was difficult.
No, there we go.
Yeah. She found me very difficult, I think. But it was all right. But
I think difficult means that you're creative. that's what.
Argumentative, I think.
Well, there's
question asking all the time. Well, the need for freedom often looks difficult because somebody wants to make choices. And when you don't give them choice, with kids, I remember being told, don't ask your child which jacket they want to wear. Say, do you want to wear this one or this one? Show them 2 jackets and ask them which he wants to wear. Those are the choices that a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old can make. Don't say, look at your entire wardrobe and tell me what you want to wear today. That's too many choices.
Oh, okay.
But
and weird outcomes.
That's true.
It's really true.
Well, so we have to learn. We need to be taught how to make good choices, but we need to be allowed to make choices, because we have a strong need to do it our way. I mean, it's the children, the terrible twos, although I don't think they find children that have learned sign language, their twos aren't terrible because they can communicate what they want. And as long as the parents are willing to give them some flexibility, there aren't any terrible. Well, I say this, and someone watching this somewhere will say, "Oh, yeah."
It's going to go, yes, there is.
So also with this, we talk about children and families getting together, and I think there's a lot of change, and it is going to be okay. We want to go do the vacation thing is going to come up. I mean, even for the holidays, I know, we travel, we pet sit as we travel. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you better book us now. And it's happening, but it's, there are those decisions. And a lot of times now, and even from what we've written, Nancy, isn't it? Like some hotels in some areas you'd think would be like totally open, and they're not, because everyone is rushing to see their family for the first time. So some of the smaller towns normally, it's packed. You can't get those hotels.
It's time to start checking and seeing what really is available.
Yeah, you can make your decisions, but you better, do it fast.
So I was looking at Albany, Oregon, because that's where you are right now, right?
Yes.
I was studying it while I was waiting to start talking to you guys, and it looked like it would be a pretty nice place to go in the summer.
It's beautiful in the summer. Yeah, I think it's got a little rainy, so we are sunshine girls. Yes. But when the sun comes out, it's absolutely beautiful and lush green. And we were in Sun River on our way here, and oh my,
Idaho, yeah.
No, Sun River. We did Snake River, Shoshone Falls in Idaho. I think there could be a Sun River, but then it was Sun River, Oregon. They're like what, and 2 hours away from each other, Idaho and Oregon. But where we were, that's beautiful. I mean, Willamette Forest is in the backyard here, and apparently, which we have not done yet, there is a carousel downtown, an old school carousel, and we got tokens. We're gonna put Priscilla, our sock monkey. We should have brought her for this conversation.
Yeah, we should.
Our sock monkey.
I'll have to get there. Yes, she wants out now.
She wants to talk about freedom, right? So getting into that choice, I think it's when you do this kind of thing, it's when you have a group like a family, do you kind of say, okay, we're going to carve out X amount of time, think about things before we have this family meeting, so that you don't dwell on it. You need to move on, get on with it.
Right.
I'm not difficult at all.
The best story, I mean, you guys have heard this from me before, but the best time example that I ever had from this was when we were traveling with my son. Our son was 13, and we were going to Great Britain, and we were going to England, and we were going to go up to the Isle of Man because my husband had an aunt there, and she was actually in the States the summer that we met. I don't think she made it to our wedding, but we were connected to her. So we knew we were going to go to the Isle of Man, and we knew we had Elliston's in London that we wanted to see. And then I had been teaching French for years, and I hadn't been to France but once. And heck, now they have the Channel, and you can get from England to France really quickly. And it was all in those days of European Union. And I said, at least we should be able to go to spend one night in France, shouldn't we? So we started making a list of things we wanted to do. And then people chose from that list. I mean, my son wanted to go to Oxford. My husband's family had a relative who was the dean, provost, something or other at Cambridge. And so there was a very good reason for going there. Plus, we could stay with them and it wouldn't cost us any money. We all wanted.
That's a good reason.
Yeah. But my son had heard of Oxford, so he thought we should go there. So he was saying Oxford, and we were saying, well, there's Cambridge. And then there's the Ellistons, the aunts and uncles there. And then my husband had done this kind of thing when he graduated from high school with a friend. And, excuse me, he had sailed on the Norfolk Broads, which you know about because you have the man who is
Glenn Burroughs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've communicated about this. But anyway, so he wanted to take us sailing on the Norfolk Broads. And, oh, God, we had such a good time. I loved it. It's one of my
cool.
You have happy places in your memory. Mm. That's one of the places.
Oh.
So anyway, we had all these choices, and I said, well, I want to go to Paris. And then I had to, we sat there, we had our slips of paper, and we agreed that there was going to Paris, there was going to Oxford, there was going to Cambridge, there was going to see the aunt in Nova Scotia, and I mean, not Nova Scotia, the Isle of Man, and I'm embarrassed, I can't remember her name. And we were doing a lot of it on a bicycle. We were pretty committed to doing as much traveling on bicycles and trains as we could. We didn't want to try renting a car. It was too confusing. And the Tower of London. We wanted to see a show in London. I've forgotten what the other things were. Oh, the other Ellistons that my husband's cousins. Anyway, so we had them all written out, and then we sat there at the dining room table and laid them out. I remember because it was snowing outside. It was December, and we were going in June and July. And there were various people that we wanted to see, and you know, people came out at the top. So my son was willing to negotiate on the Cambridge Oxford thing because, yeah, he wanted to meet this uncle that my husband felt quite strongly was a very nice man that he knew. And one of the sweetest parts of the trip for me was when we were walking in London. We were walking from our bed and breakfast to the home where we were going to be entertained by cousins, my husband's cousins, who had young children Billy's age. Billy was 13, and they had kids like 11 and 8 and maybe 5. And so we got there, and there was a little, gate in front of the house, and there was a little girl swinging on the gate, and we said, "Hi, what's your name?" She said, "My name is Sarah-Elliston." Mine. It was just wonderful. I didn't, and now if I Google Sarah-Elliston, there's this wonderful Scottish doctor that comes up all the time because she's obviously very famous, but I don't think that's my cousin's daughter, my niece, I guess she would be. But that was just one of those moments of like, oh my God, there's a Sarah-Elliston right here in London at the age of 6, and she is adorable. But we talked it through that. Paris ended up at the bottom of my list. I was blown away because going into it, I really thought it was important. Billy's never been to France. Well, he didn't care about France.
Yeah.
He'd been to Russia.
Wow.
He to France.
Well, so when you're doing the letter and you're talking about these pieces of paper, so it's basically like, you've got a letter, you've got only so many steps that you can do. So do you have to kind of say, okay, we're going to work to complete these things, we're going to do this A, B, C. So you're going to actually go down the ladder instead of up the ladder, right? When you
do it, you can do it either way. I would limit it to no more than 12 pieces of paper.
Okay.
Because I see the ladder going, straight up and down rather than the steps, but you've done, which is so nice. And I wouldn't have more than probably 8's probably plenty, but you have to have some agreement on what they are, and then always have one left open for something nobody's thought of.
Oh,
it was a wild card. I always have a wild card.
Yep.
But the other thing that you can do that's really fun is that you can take, like, we were going to, I guess it's when we were going to Cambridge, we discovered that the pastor of a church we didn't attend, but our best friends attended here in Cincinnati, he and his wife were going to be living over there for that summer and in right around Cambridge. And so that became something that we wanted to do too, in addition to visiting the Ellistons. So like we just rode bikes out there and had a picnic lunch with them and then rode back to the university. But we didn't even know it was happening when we were setting the ladder up. And what you can do is take each concept, especially if you're talking vacation. So if you say, okay, well, we want to go to the Grand Canyon. Well, now there's a lot of things you can do at the Grand Canyon. You can stand and look and go, oh. I mean, you can go walk down, you can ride down, you can camp, you can take a boat through. I mean, there's tons of stuff you can do at the Grand Canyon. So then you could do a ladder for all the things that you might want to do in the Grand Canyon.
I see what you mean. Yeah. I think
so for every element, you can break it down into smaller things, especially if you have lots of different ages. And I think that's what appeals to me. I wouldn't go, but what appeals to me is if I was in another life and had children, I would go on these large floating vessels that have, I guess they're the Disney characters, and they have all kinds of water slides and all kinds of things for kids as well as things for adults. And I just think, now I would never get on a ship like that just because I'm phobic about it or something. But I just think it would meet everybody's need, because we could all come back together for supper, right?
Yeah.
We'd meet for breakfast. We'd all be sleeping together, but there'd be all this excitement of things to do during the day. So
there's a lot out there, especially when you talk travel. But I like the step process. I mean, Nancy, we make all these decisions all the time, but it has to.
Well, you prioritize automatically.
You have, but I think it's important to not just be flippant, about a decision, because maybe emotion, right, Nancy? Isn't that something we talk about, is like, just because you're feeling that emotionally now, you can't just go, we're going to make that change. You know what I mean?
What are you
So
trying to say?
well,
I
no,
think you're talking about consequences.
yeah, there's consequences. There's this kind of process means that you're becoming rational about it instead of just going from the emotional side, which the emotional side is important. But what I'm saying is you have that rational side in there, especially when it's something important. I mean, I think even this is something right now, people, students going into college or choosing colleges, and a lot of that is happening, and some choosing, do I really want to go to college now? The whole COVID thing kind of changed things up, and jobs are changing, careers are changing. There's a lot of, I mean, to talk about change, but I know, Nancy, you have to kind of hit me over the head, some, not physically, but to get into the realism. We do that to each other, but this process allows people to do it together.
Well, rather than just bickering about it, or having someone come home and say, we're taking a trip and here's where we're going to go. And I think when I was young, well, I know when I was young, I was, I don't know, 12 or 13. In those days, it was the late 50s, and people got in there, see the USA and your Chevrolet thing. And you would get in your car and you would drive across the country. And my mom was very used to spending her summers on dude ranches and things when she was growing up. And she wanted us all to have that experience. And I had been going to a camp where we spoke French all the time and did regular campy things. And I said, I don't want to get in a car with my siblings and drive around the country. I want to go to camp. I see these people every day all year long. I want to spend my summer at camp. So I got the choice to go to camp, for example. And then they planned out this trip, and they went down to Kentucky, saw the bluegrass and the horses, and then out west. And they had a wonderful time, and I had a wonderful time at camp. And my father went back to Normandy, where he had been he was like 2 days behind D-Day. With an LST. He was in the Navy, and he went back and bicycled all over Normandy.
Wow.
For that 4-week period when everyone was traveling. And I when I think about it now, I don't remember being told, you're going to go on this trip. I think my mother said, we're talking about doing this. And they did it with another family. A bunch of children, a girl my age and my sister's age, and two sisters' ages. And they had and my older sister was old enough to drive, and the older boy in that family was old enough to, so they really had 4 drivers and 2 cars, so they could switch around. And in 1950, whatever it was, 58, 59, it was still kind of cool to drive in and order a hamburger and eat it in the car.
Yeah. Nancy, what do we do now?
Still do. Imagine.
I don't think they do that so much now. I mean,
they do.
Now
I mean,
it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's McDonald's, and I don't want to give them a promotion, but they're there, and
it's not a big outing kind of thing like it used to be.
Well, I just remember that my older sister ended up, I think she always got 2 cheeseburgers and a Coke. That's what I heard, that this was what, didn't matter where they went to eat, that's what she wanted for lunch.
Nancy wants her tater tots.
That's right.
All right.
And I need my coffee. That's it. On the road. That's, because we do a lot of driving, and then it's like, okay, so we have our road food, and then apparently I need to stop eating gummy bears. It's my new bad thing, right? So that's the choice to see, but this is also the choice. Everybody started baking, and a lot of wine consumption was going up during COVID, but baking, and now I think people are going, we better start eating salads, and we do that, and then it's like, okay, and I'll tell Nancy we're having this for dinner, and she'll go, no, we're not. Maybe the choice thing could help as a family gets together, even on creating meals.
Sure.
Of what, because everyone's different now too with sensitivities. It's like,
well, it's also like, who's good at it? Like if you have a family of 3 or 4 kids, there's at least one of them that likes to cook or wants to help.
Mm.
You know, it was the last thing I ever wanted to do. And it's still the last thing I want to do.
She just wants to speak French and have it delivered.
That's right. Actually, I've managed right now, knock wood, because I was sick and was really not eating the right things. I now have someone who comes in every morning and helps me with planning my food. And then if there's something that needs to be cooked, like a pork chop or whatever, she does it. And she's an incredible cook. And she's not even here a full 2 hours, but she does a lot of the taking the garbage out and things like that. That's very helpful for me. And I have really good food choices, and she makes the best salads, and I love salads, but I hate tearing lettuce into bits. It's just a bore. You know, I mean, I'm just not good at
I was going to say, when we come through Cincinnati,
funny.
When we come to Cincinnati, I'll come make you a really big salad.
I love salads. I just when I think about, I want a salad, yes. Do I have lettuce? Yes. Do I have to tear it? Yes. Oh, bore. You know, do I have to chop things? She chops up peppers for me so I can have all kinds of different incarnations of peppers. And she's just gone off for a 5-day vacation, so I have a big bowl of peppers in my fridge right now. And my son taught me to mix mixed peppers, you know, different colored peppers with olives and feta cheese. And I use a vinaigrette dressing. And sometimes we throw in celery or whatever else, you know, onions. And it is just delicious. But I can create that. That's not hard because it's all just dumping things from one thing to another. It's not cutting and peeling. And I mean, even avocado.
She is not going to do this. She's not. Nancy, she does. We have our thing. We make a choice. She does breakfast. I do lunch, dinner stuff. We have the choices, right?
Yeah.
And
I could do that. I could do breakfast. Breakfast isn't hard. It's either cereal or eggs, you know, or a smoothie. And
no, if we could have cake every day, I would do it, right? But that's it. The choice thing is important, I think, for everybody right now. As things are changing, small businesses are, you know, businesses had to change during COVID, and some people just started their own business and out of necessity or something they've been wanting to do. You know, and I think also, I know you write, Nancy, would you use this as part of, so you remember when you were writing your novel, the Kenyan one, would you use this as part of development of characters? And I'm just thinking there's so many uses of this.
Well, your characters make choices, but you know, you're masterminding it. So you're really kind of controlling everybody's life. It's kind of cool. I'm going to make you do this and then you're going to do that. But then people who have actually finished a book or 2 or 3, they seem to say the characters do what they want to do. So
that's what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe, you know, people make choices the way they make them, and then characters become real people in a novel.
I just know that when I'm reading fiction now, I am usually looking for the interesting things that the characters do, or the twists and turns that the plots make. I mean, I want to read something that's relatively well written, although I give up on spell check. I mean, there's numbers of words that are completely misspelled. Don't get me started. I start sounding like a negative person, and I don't want to be negative. I love the all the interesting things that these characters do, and I think, where did he get these ideas? I'm not sure I could write fiction. Like, I just don't know if I have that much creativity of ideas of things that could possibly happen.
Hats off to writers, but I think this kind of exercise, the latter, I think it can be used in so many things. You know, just even in communication, it's a good tool in communication and teamwork, right? In a way.
As long as everyone gets heard. That was the one piece we haven't really talked about. The need for success, the need for a self-empowerment feeling that I've achieved something. It isn't power over others, but it is a need for empowerment, you know? And sometimes that gets neglected, I think, in teams. I mean, I think sometimes someone on the team is more dominant, so you just go, oh, never mind, we'll do it her way or his way. So when you have a really good team, then everyone gets to feel that their ideas are important.
Ideas.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like, I mean, some people, like if you look at a baseball team, one person's good at putting the ball in the thingy. Some people, this is
I beg your pardon.
You're talking about baseball or cricket, or
I shouldn't talk about anything to do with sports at all. But you know, they chase the balls around. Some people are good at doing the catching, the defense, you know, all of that. So each person has what they're really good at in a team. And you should be celebrating the diversity of everybody in a team. While everybody's got different talents, and if you get more than one, then that's even better, depending on what the team is all about, you know, what they're trying to accomplish. But it's like Nancy's good at, you know, the video work. I'm good at doing the sound stuff. We have to mix and match. And if we were both good at everything the same, it would be boring.
The best team I ever worked on was at the United Ways Volunteer Center. It was about my 4th or 5th year there. We had, I think, 4.5 of us on staff. I mean, 4 people plus a person who was a volunteer, but she came in quite regularly, so she was considered staff. And we were helping people find volunteer opportunities. I was also managing a volunteer program at City Hall, and also teaching people how to run volunteer programs. That was part of my work. We took an entire day, we took the entire morning to fill out this grid of all the things that we did in our job. And each one of us went through the 8 or 10 different specific goals that they had in their job and the activities that were part of it. So there was this big grid on a whiteboard. And after lunch, our boss said, okay, now we want to go through this, and each of you pick at least 1 or 2 things that you really, really don't like to do. And if there's anything that someone else is doing that you kind of enjoy doing, make a note of that. And we didn't write them up there. Well, I think we circled the ones that we didn't like for ourselves, but we just sort of made a note of the things that other people were doing that we wouldn't mind doing, or we would like doing, or we would enjoy doing. And then we traded. And one of the things that I really didn't like doing was running recognition events, because volunteers, every organization says, oh, you have to have a party for the volunteers. Well, at this time I had 5 parties, and I was bored with trying to come up with new ideas.
And she's not going to make the salad.
Oh dear. Anyway, I just thought recognition for volunteers, making sure they have a place to put their purse or their coat, and make sure they have a name tag and that people thank them for being there. And that's what makes a volunteer feel like they're valued by the organization. The staff members know their names, and they are given as many rights and responsibilities as paid staff as they can. So they don't feel like, oh, well, they're just a volunteer. They're not just, you know. So that was my belief. And so having a party was just like, ugh. I didn't like to give parties even when I was married and had a family, but you know, they always were fun, but I just didn't like, anyway. So my boss did it. My boss was the best party person in the world. She threw terrific parties. So she did my recognition for 2 years. It was just heaven. And I forget what I picked up. I forget what it was. I went and did pre-retirement workshops.
Oh.
I was 40. And I'd go out and talk to these guys in their late 50s and talk about, you know, their wives would say, we married you for better or for worse, but not for lunch. They're not going to want you around the house all day after you've been working all these years. So you need to find something else to do. So we used to do things like this ladder, like what are the kinds of things you like to do, and what opportunities there are for volunteering in retirement, that kind of thing.
That's really cool, though. I think the swapping of, of roles,
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
get to learn something new and you could do it again. I mean, yeah, but I don't think Nancy wants me to make the omelets and breakfast.
I call it self-defense cooking breakfast.
I think that was a pretty remarkable team. And that's the only time I ever really saw that happening. I suggested it a couple of other different times with different teams, but people were not as comfortable with letting go of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the amount of trust between the people who were working in the team. But it was pretty remarkable. That was my happiest experience with it.
I think it's cool. And it's something too that a family can do just with the chores. I mean, if you've got a chore that you're stuck with and that's not your thing, maybe you're feeding the goldfish and you really just don't care about the goldfish. But,
Nice.
Sally over here, she's like, I love the goldfish and I don't want to do this other thing. I don't want to pick up the dog poo, whatever it is.
Nobody
I don't know.
wants to pick up the dog poo.
You know what? It just becomes a so what thing. It's just, except for when you try to pick it up in snow. That's a whole other thing if it's frosted and frozen over. I know. I won't get into all of that again. But, I think that's a really good way of, and for people to understand what other people are doing too. That's another understanding thing.
Yes, it's really helpful.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure there are terribly many, let's see. I don't know how many managers or even supervisors there are who are secure enough in how they've been working with people or how they are supervising others to be able to. Now, obviously, I guess I just always believed people will do things. When I was teaching French in high school, I had classes of 30 students. Well, it's really hard for 30 students to speak French for like 2 minutes in a 60-minute hour. That's only 2 minutes per kid. That's not enough time to learn the language. So I had one class that was very advanced. They were like a level 3 and 4. And I had these beginners of classes of 30. And so I split my 30s. I did this with 2 different groups. I split them in half, and I would take half of them on Monday and Wednesday, and my advanced students took the other half Monday and Wednesday, and then we switched Tuesday and Thursday, and then on Friday I would have the whole class. Because learning a language is all drill. It's all practice. Yeah. 15 people, you can get a lot more practice in.
Yeah.
And my advanced students were just wonderful, and they loved doing it. And a couple of them went on to, teach languages. But I remember doing that, and I remember my husband said, you want to write an article about this because I'll bet nobody else is doing this. And I said, I was desperate. I mean, how am I going to teach 30 kids how to speak French in 60 minutes? You can't. And it just.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
You got to use it. You got to use it. Well, very cool. I want to tell everybody again, Lessons from a Difficult Person, how to deal with people like us. Your book is out. You go to Sarah-Elliston.com, Amazon, all those great places. So we're waiting for the second book, Sarah.
Yeah.
I know. So am I.
Yeah.
I had some ideas at early COVID, and I don't know where they are now.
They're at the salad. They're hiding in the salad drawer. We're waiting for the lettuce to be torn up. And always a pleasure chatting with you. And
thank you.
Everyone, again, Sarah's article's up on Blend Radio and TV.com. You'll see it in the upcoming issue of Quality of Life magazine. You can keep up with our magazines at bigblendmagazines.com. I said we have 9, but you know what? They're small, quicker. So every 10 to 20 days, if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll get a new magazine in your email box. It will not be an encyclopedia because we took our Big Blend Radio and TV magazine and put it on the diet of salad. So it's thinner, it's out quicker, and we're excited about all these changes. And so again, bigblendmagazines.com. Also keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, you're welcome. I've really enjoyed being here. Thanks.
It's awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Very cool.